Okay, so I'm sure we've all heard the news. Casemiro is going to be leaving Manchester United when his contract expires in the summer. I got to admit, like, the news took everybody by surprise. Not that we didn't know that Casemiro was most likely going to leave at the end of the season, but we just didn't expect this message to come so soon this season. And to be fair, that game that he had against Man City, man, that would have probably been, if that was his last game and he had to leave this January, that would have been like the perfect send-off for himself. So yeah, Casemiro, it's a done deal. He's going to be leaving Manchester United. It was an honor to have him at the club. You should go watch Ben's video. You know, he gives Casemiro his flowers. And yeah, he talks about his achievements and all what he has done for not only Real Madrid, but Manchester United. So I really encourage you, go and watch Ben's video. It's a good video. So with that being said, this video is not going to be about that. All right. This video, we're going to be talking about why it's a good thing that Casemiro is leaving the club, why it's a bad thing that he's leaving the club. And then we're also going to touch on how we even got to this situation in the first place. So yeah, so welcome to another video on the Glory Reds channel. And guys, Casemiro leaving affects this club in so many ways. All right. The first thing is that it frees up finances. And we all know in the past couple of years, United have been having financial issues. Financial issues because there have been players that have been on ridiculous wages. We haven't been qualifying for Champions League positions. We haven't been finishing high up in the table, which has resulted in United not getting that football money that we're used to getting. And this is outside of commercial deals and t-shirt sales, etc. We're just talking about money that we get from broadcasting rights, from participating in European competitions, from winning trophies. Yes, we did win 2 trophies under Erik ten Hag, but we've been lacking, you know what I mean, in that department in terms of getting finances from that area in particular. And because these players have been on big wages, it's been very difficult to manage the finances, because at the end of the day, you know, you have to fulfill the contract to the players. If you're paying this player 350,000 a week, you know, then that's what you have to pay the player. You cannot reduce their salary, you know, or their wages mid-season or end of season just because we didn't qualify for this, for that, whatever, unless that was stipulated in the contract, which it was not. So Casemiro leaving is going to free up some wages. It's going to free up some wages to bring in more players into this club, in particular midfielders, right? It's going to free up wages to assist Kobbie Mainoo, because Kobbie Mainoo obviously has been on a shit contract for a long time, all right? So at least there's going to be some funds that we can now push into players like Kobbie Mainoo. So Marcus Rashford has left, Casemiro has left. I think the only big player that's left on a big contract is Bruno Fernandes, but even his contract was not as extreme as Casemiro's or Marcus Rashford. Now, with Casemiro, you could probably say it was justified, you know, just basing on the fact of the experience that he was bringing from Real Madrid, the type of caliber of a player that he was. With Marcus Rashford, it's a bit questionable because he's only had one really, really standout good season at the club. And that should have not prompted such an increment in his salary. But it happened, right? And we can't go back and change it. And then we've got Bruno Fernandes, you know, which in my opinion, the current wages that he's on, fully deserved. You know what I mean? But here's an opportunity to hit the reset button, because now we have almost phased out all the players that are on big salaries. So here's an opportunity to start from scratch and say, okay, this is what I want to do moving forward. Because apparently, Ineos Group have now put a salary cap, all right? And I believe it's the right thing to do, because a lot of clubs in Europe have that in place, all right? When you look at players from Arsenal, you look at players from Man City, you look at players even from Liverpool, some of those players who have been winning Premier League, Champions League, FA Cups, etc., you name it, for these past couple of years, within, you know, the last 10 years, most of their big hitting players are not even on the type of salary or type of wages that our mid-tier tier players are at Manchester United. So I think it's high time that United did implement a wage structure in the club, and not just because, oh, what big Manchester United, we can afford to pay the players any amount that we want. But now it ends up in situations like this where you're struggling to pay wages, and now you're forced to look into, oh, how can we recuperate? We want to sell homegrown talents to bring in the money, which at the end of the day is just paper over the crack, right? It's not ultimately fixing the real issue at this club, right? So that's one of the good things of Casemiro leaving, frees up some wages. The second thing is, it now opens doors for other younger players to step into that role. Players like Kobbie Mainoo, right? Under Ruben Amorim did not get enough game time for Amorim's reasons, which are justified. You know what I mean? He's the manager. At that point in time, if he felt that I don't want to play this player for whatever reasons that he had, then fair. You know, it's fair. He's the manager. It's his call. You know what I mean? So now that Casemiro is going to be leaving and Kobbie Mainoo is looking to stay and is going to get his contract upgraded, this is a perfect opportunity for Kobbie Mainoo to now step into the shoes of Casemiro and lead in that position. But not just Kobbie Mainoo, all right? We also have players like Ugarte, which in my personal opinion, I think we're probably going to sell him in the summer, okay? And then, of course, we have our academy prospects, and then we're also looking in the transfer window to bring in players, right? And those players are obviously going to come in and fill those boots of Casemiro, all right? So this is now looking like a situation where United are sort of like getting rid of that old guard, all right? And finally just moving on, saying that, look, we thank you for your services. You know, you've been a good servant to the club. We appreciate what you've brought to us, but it's high time that United, you know, really get on with this rebuild. You know, really shed the past, shed the, you know, the old regime, and take the bullet and just say, okay, we're really starting from scratch, and not have lingering players that, even though they are making a significant impact in this team, but are not going to be crucial for the rebuild that we need. They're not going to be crucial or important for the future plans of this club. Because at the moment, these players, all right, they probably only have about 2-3 seasons left in them. All right. And there's a good chance that Man United may not want to extend their contract, or there's a good chance they do not want to extend their contract, just like Casemiro. You know what I mean? So, I sort of lost my train of thought. But yeah, this is an opportunity for new players to now step in, all right? For younger players to step in, for existing players to step into that role and build this new future, build this new model that United are going to follow moving forward, all right? So in that regard, Casemiro leaving opens doors for other midfielders, other players to come in and really shine and do their thing, all right? So here's the part that really sucks about Casemiro leaving, all right? Like Ben said, Casemiro, 5-time Champions League winner, right? And won dozens of many awards and accolades in his career. He brought experience to the club. He brought leadership to the club. He brought stability in that midfield, you know, and I'm not trying to take shots at, you know, McFred, but, you know, it was a huge upgrade in that regard, coming in and really taking charge of that midfield. Was he the best midfielder that we needed throughout his time? No, he made mistakes. You know what I mean? I know he's leaving, but I don't want to sit here and be like, oh man, like, you know, there were times that he wasn't good, but 90% of the time, he was our most reliable midfielder. He was our most proficient midfielder, our most efficient midfielder. Losing him is definitely going to leave a mark in this club. It will be felt. And we did feel it when Casemiro was injured during the season that he was here. We felt it. And we're going to continue to miss that presence at this club. Right? So with him leaving, it leaves a gap. And that gap, can we trust Manchester United? Can we trust Ineos to fill that void that's going to be left in that midfield space. Because as much as we're going to be talking about Kobbie Mainoo and Ugarte, Kobbie Mainoo is not Casemiro. And in the sense, not of experience and caliber and whatever and all of that, they're two different players. You know, Kobbie Mainoo, yes, is being played deeper at the moment, you know, and sort of having this box to box role, whatever that's being implemented by what you call this, by Carrick. But we all know where Kobbie Mainoo loves to play. And we all know that United have been in search for a CDM. The fans have been begging for a CDM. All right. But can we trust Ineos to go and replace Casemiro? No, we can't. All right. And until those deals get over the line, Casemiro leaving this club is not a good thing, because we're losing out all those things that he brought to the club, the experience, the stability, the reliability. All that is going to be gone by next season. This January transfer window is almost coming to a close, and we haven't got any midfielder as yet. So now we're looking towards the summer. During the summertime, we don't know what's going to happen in between. And let's not forget it's a World Cup year. All right. So it's either we're going to get an adequate replacement for Casemiro, which is going to be a good thing, right? Or we're going to fail to get an adequate replacement for Casemiro, which ultimately results in a bad thing. Which now leaves us with my last point. How did we even get to this situation in the first place? All right. Manchester United over these past years have had a recruitment problem. And like I said, the last time United made a good transfer in January was Bruno Fernandes. Other than that, we haven't had the best of January transfers. All right. And when I mean transfers, permanent transfers, not loans, not your Ingalos, your Weghorsts, your did Amrabat come during? I can't even remember, but you know what I'm talking about. All right. We haven't made good deals in the January period. Now, when we do eventually get around to making those good deals, we end up getting players that, how can I put it? We don't need, number one. And number two, yes, it was good to get Casemiro, but at the same time, it wasn't the best move, right? And I'm not trying to shit on Casemiro come to Manchester United, okay? I really appreciate what he's done for this club. But United are getting such a huge player, of course is going to want a huge salary. And for the fact that he's not a permanent solution to a problem that we desperately need to fix, that's where the issue starts. We did it with Varane, we did it with Casemiro, we did it with Bastian Schweinsteiger, we did it with Cavani, we did it with Ronaldo, we've done it with Casemiro, and the list goes on. You know what I mean? And that's where the problem is created, because these players, these experienced players that we're getting, which is all well and good, the timing is wrong. We're getting them at a wrong time. So my biggest fear is that United are going to replicate that same mistake in terms of we're not able to get this young prospect of a midfielder, right? They don't want to gamble on inexperience. And then they'll probably look to, okay, which midfielder from a big club is being moved out because that big club have a very well-oiled system in place to get rid of players that still have good financial value in the market. All right. They've done what they've done for their club over the past 6 to 8 years. Even though they still have, some legs left in them, they know that they need to address this reform before it's too late and before they lose the value of that player. But, United, we don't have that system in place. And then what ends up happening is that we end up getting these players, right? And that's how these problems have been starting in the first place, of United not being aggressive in the transfer market, United not having the tools, not having the ability to go and close the deals that we needed to close. And then we end up getting these, great players that we know are only going to be there for a short period of time, 2-3 seasons. And then it's back to the drawing board. What are we going to do about our CDM situation? What are we going to do about our center back? What are we going to do about our striker situation? And that's where everything spawned from. And United need to seriously take a step away from that. these past 5 years should be a learning curve for Manchester United of what to do, what not to do. All right. We're now moving into another rebuild, right? We're now moving into another era of a new manager coming in. I don't know. Maybe Carrick does such a great job, he gets the job. I don't know how to feel about it or how to react about it at this present time. Okay. But there's going to be a lot of change coming. And I just hope that the change that's coming is going to be the right change. It's not going to be the repetitive change that we have seen countless times at this club, where we have tried the rebuild thing and just constantly failed. And then the management, scrambles around and gets confused and panics, and then they make all these panic buys and put them on huge salaries just so they can get them into the club. And then we have a problem. What happens after that? And then it causes problems within the club at that present time, which we do not need. So yeah, guys, that's all I wanted to say on that situation. Like I said, Bruno Fernandes is our last, or probably one of our last players that's on a huge salary. But like I said, he thoroughly deserves those wages. So what do you guys think? Should Bruno Fernandes be next on the chopping block? Do you think United need to make an initiative to get rid of him while his value is still high? Or do you think Bruno Fernandes will walk away from this club like Varane, like Casemiro, like Cavani even, So what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.